Mr. Classroom Quiz! Mr. Classroom Quiz! Mr. Classroom Quiz! Mr. Classroom Quiz!
Hello again, Year 12, and welcome to the next installment in our series on how to structure our HSC essays. Today the turn has come to the area of study essay on discovery, where of course our focus is the poetry of Robert Frost, and you will relate that to one or two related texts depending on the requirements of the question. So if we start by looking at the shape of the evidence clusters in this module, they should be pretty much the same as any, or they should be exactly the same as any sort of standard essay we've looked at. You start by placing the extract, the piece of evidence, so where in the text is this reference from, what is the point being made about discovery, how is this point conveyed technically, what technique has the writer chosen or the composer chosen to use, and why is this particular technique an effective way to convey this particular idea about discovery. So I guess the main thing here really is to make sure that effect, the why factor, is pulled back to your topic sentence about discovery so that you connect your texts together in that way. If we then move on to the actual essay itself, the introduction should be following pretty much the same standard formula that we've seen for the other essays. You start obviously by capturing the question and formulating that into a thesis statement. Now this could happen either in two separate sentences where you first catch the key words and show the marker that, yep, I get it, this is what you're asking me, before you move on to developing an actual thesis in a second sentence. Or if you want to merge the two together, that's fine as well. Presumably, the question will force you to offer some form of definition or description of discovery. So you shouldn't really need to do a separate sentence where you define what discovery means. This is kind of if you look at a lot of old study guides, you'll see the kind of models where they have a sentence that specifically defines belonging or change or journeys. You shouldn't need to do that really, because the question words should force you to offer a description of some sort. So where the area of study distinguishes itself somewhat from the other modules is in the level of integration between the text. So when you come to the stage of furthering your thesis statement and unpacking it and breaking it into two topic sentences, most essays will have two. I don't think you're going to get around to doing three discovery concepts unless you're a very quick writer. So when you come up with your two topic sentences, they should relate to three different texts. Now these three texts might say different things about the particular. So say for instance, your topic sentence is that all discoveries emanate from a sudden revelation. Then you should have three texts that explore that idea. So you might have two texts where there's a sudden discovery, such as the stumbling upon a tuft of flowers, or realizing by looking out the window how there is a burial ground in your backyard and how that's clearly visible to your wife when she's standing on the top floor landing. They're sort of sudden revelations that lead to further discoveries. Or they could be more gradual, this sort of long realization of year after year how the repeated process of mending a wall is leading to its particular discovery. Regardless, your topic sentence has to work with three different texts. So the three texts could be either two Frost poems and one related text, or if the question specifies it, if the question asks you to refer to two related texts, then you would maybe just do the one Frost poem and two related texts as your three texts in relation to each topic sentence. But in the end, the essay should really refer to at least two, possibly three Frost poems, depending on how long they are. If, for instance, you do Stopping by Woods and Fire and Ice, then certainly I would do a third poem just so you have enough words to actually discuss and explore. Whereas if you do Home Burial and you want to do that justice, or you do after apple picking and you want to do that justice, you probably are not going to be able to get through a third poem as well. But what I also want to add is if the question doesn't ask you for a second related text, then I wouldn't go there. Even if the question is saying at least one related text of your own choice, I would I would spend more time developing the poetry and developing your first text than moving to a third text as well. So when we then get into your body paragraphs, which obviously are directed by the two topic sentences that you've outlined in your introduction, they should be integrated. And what that means in this context is that all three texts should be working towards that topic sentence. So you start with a general topic sentence, such as all discoveries lead to a change of self, or open new worlds and lead to new values, or all discoveries come from a sudden unexpected place, or are the result of a gradual examination of facts or something. So you start with a general topic sentence about discovery, and then you make that specific to your first Frost poem. So you then pull it in. So an example of this sudden discovery can be seen in this poem. And then you have 2 or 3 evidence clusters to support that point. You then dribble that down into your next topic sentence where you say contrastingly or similarly, and then you unpack the topic sentence into your next Frost poem or into your first related text if you're dealing with 2 texts on top of Frost. And then 2 to 3 evidence clusters to support that point with some references to how this text is similar or different to the first poem. And then again, we continue that into a third development of a specific topic sentence, which is just a furthering of that general one that we had at the start of the paragraph, where you say, in the third text, we have a similar idea to that in text number 2, or this contrasts completely to text 1 and 2 because, and then you have 2 or 3 evidence clusters to support that point, again connecting back to the topic sentence and to the other texts. And then finally, the last sentence of your paragraph will conclude that general topic sentence that you had at the beginning and connect the whole thing back to your overarching essay thesis. And finally, when it comes to the conclusion of the essay, there's nothing surprising here. We're dealing with similar ideas to what you have done in other essays. You're restating your main thesis, but you try to use different words. You're restating your first and your second topic sentence, but again using slightly different words to show slightly different, just to show that you're not being repetitive. And we talked about the idea of reversing the clauses in those sentences, so you're actually able to more or less recycle them without making them sound identical. And then finally moving on with a really memorable concluding sentence, so that the marker, when they finally put your essay down, still have a positive last impression and they will end up giving you a better grade. I hope that's given you sort of an overview of how the area of study essay should be structured. Obviously, as usual, any concerns, send me an email or bring some ideas into class and we will talk about those there. Thank you. See you later.